to our next speaker, Ms. Vaishali Mangalvedhekar from SJK Architects.
Said it was the soul of India, and immediately what it reminded me of was an essay titled Roots and Bridges, written by Charles Courtyard more than 20 years ago. It's amazing how relevant it is even today. In it, he says, as a natural response to the wiping out of our culture and a sense of identity due to globalization, artists, writers, painters, musicians, poets, the very creative force of society is protesting, and in an effort to stem this erosion, they are celebrating local experiences, local rituals, local values. In short, and after watching all the wonderful presentations, I think what all of us are trying to do is really, how do we find our roots? But while we try and look to return to our roots, our value systems and lifestyles are no longer the way they were in the past, and we are confronted with a new culture. In a way, the essay goes on to describe how all creative endeavor, of which architecture is a part, must be a bridge in time, a bridge between cultures, a culture of the past and a culture of now. In order to build this bridge, we as architects often draw on our past history and intuitively look for a good match that will help solve a problem. For example, in this project that we've built in Tirupati, we drew on planning and organization from the temple of Tirupati, the temple of Lord Balaji, which is a great pilgrimage site for most Hindus. We drew on the planning of the temple, which is orthogonal, circumambulatory, and introverted, to create a vast courtyard, right in the middle of which is a restaurant with a lotus roof. This served us really well because the external views on the long sides of the property were extremely unflattering, and this gave us the ability to create a really beautiful, calm ambience within. And sometimes it's the materials that have a cultural recall that we draw on. For example, in this factory in Karur, we've used terracotta hollow blocks, we've cocooned the building in stone, and we've used Atanguri tiles, all of which have a very powerful cultural memory for the locals. Sometimes we draw on a skill from our rich past, as we've seen from several projects here right now. In this design studio for Mahindra & Mahindra at Kandivali in Mumbai, we used the craft and skill of metal that once flourished in Bombay of the bygone era and was a backbone of the dockyards, the railways and mills that made it the financial hub that Bombay is. But sometimes it is an overall essence or soul of the past, a feeling that we are trying to capture. To explain which, I'd like to take you all to Bodh Gaya. Bodh Gaya in Bihar is where Buddha is deemed to have attained nirvana. It is the holiest pilgrimage site for most Buddhists, and pilgrims from all over the globe, but particularly from Asia, visit Bodh Gaya. And it is for these pilgrims, these global pilgrims, that we were asked to design a hotel. To cater to these Asian tourists, in the meanwhile, Bodh Gaya was responding with structures such as these, very Chinese-looking pagodas and Asian monasteries. Our line of inquiry, in a way, was, what are the roots of Buddhism in India? How can we give these end users a more authentic, but still a very, very emotional connection to the birthplace of Buddhism? And equally, how can our architecture help instill a sense of belongingness and pride amongst the local people of Bihar? In order to do this, we worked with two architectural lyrics while designing. One is of memory, where we drew from historic Buddhist architecture all around Bodh Gaya, from the ruins of the Nalanda University to the Mahabodhi Temple, the Sujata Stupa, outstanding structures that we visited, documented. We looked at the proportions of the walls, the corbels, the arches, the step jambs, and developed all of these in a contemporary idiom to represent a now. The other lyric at play is that of emotion. inspired by the Buddhist ethos of simplicity, compassion, and serenity, which is reflected through very simple lines and a very simple material palette, simple in the choice of materials and the variety of materials, in a way restricting the number of the colors that we used and so on. This is a central courtyard of the project with its rhythmic corbelled arches. It very much forms both the physical as well as the emotional heart of the project. The architecture unfolds through layers, gentle transitions through verandas, framed openings. Spaces and vistas are allowed to reveal gently and gradually, really slowly. The building embraces human scale. Gentleness and humility conveyed through the proportions of courtyards, verandas, arches, and windows. On the two sides of the central courtyard are these passages with half-rounded vaults. The vaults, of course, is a cultural symbol derived from the ancient architecture that we saw. The budget for the project was very limited, kind of like a 3-star budget to achieve a 5-star resort. So you'll see that on the walls are simple white paint, they're plastered and white painted, really very simple. The floor is ceramic tiles, quite different from the regular attitude to 5-star resorts where one expects to panel, has a false ceiling, very expensive material. In a way here, what we're trying to say is the feeling of luxury has been achieved through evoking the emotions and senses rather than using expensive materials and details. Externally, the same material palette with colors that resonate with Buddhism continue, white and tones of terracotta and beige. The walls are again white plastered and painted, no special texture, there's just regular sand-faced plaster that's painted. And the floor is Dholpur stone that goes everywhere, from platforms to steps to hardscapes to everywhere in the project. Not one material is luxurious. The design instead is anchored by a strong idea and an architecture that resonates with the essence of Buddhism, achieved by robust research and consciously ensuring simplicity at every step. Internally, several spaces are vaulted. This is the all-day dining. The vaults are in concrete, pigmented to a terracotta tone to resonate with the use of bricks, which is very much a very strong part of Bodh Gaya's past as well as present. And while the inside, this is the residential block, again continuing with the same use of vaults. You'll see the back of the headbed, which ordinarily in most other projects would have been an expensive wallpaper or some wall paneling, is really again the humble brick. And while the internal spaces are vaulted, the outside of the same space is sloping to give the building a gentle resort-like feel. The gap between the two geometries, the curve and the slope in a way, offers insulation and to ward off extreme heat in the summer months. The 80,000 tiles that adorn the roof are made by 12 villages, 26 families in record time, providing us with a locally crafted solution. This was our way of giving back to the local economy and keeping alive the craft of handmade terracotta tiles. In a way, the innovation has been in finding a single solution that helps meet the requirement of the cultural, social, and climatic requirements of this building. Ideas from Buddhist philosophy and symbology were translated to help derive the interior design for the hotel. This, for example, is the Vajradhatu mandala, which we discovered is a very important part of Buddhist philosophy. And we found that the Vajradhatu mandala is associated with 5 dhyani Buddhas. Each of these dhyani Buddhas we further discovered has different attributes such as a mudra, an element such as earth, water, fire, etc., symbols, colors, and all of these in a way have come together to create different mood boards and palettes for different spaces. For example, this is a pool court and the spa that have been designed based on the Bhumi Sparsha Mandala. The color blue, the season winter, the element of water all come together to give rise to all the spaces that are designed in this particular block. There's the pool court. The philosophy further helps give rise to arts and signages that have been used across the project. In a way, this was a methodology to deepen the emotional connect of the end user with the project. Again, signages go on the same Dholpur stone that really makes up much of the landscape and goes into all of the areas in the hotel. There's a residential block lined up against a lotus water body. Lotus, of course, is a symbol which is very close to Buddhism. In conclusion, what we were trying to do is develop a design that strive to be a bridge that connects the end users to the essence of religion and place, borrowing architectural vocabulary from ancient Buddhist monasteries and stupas to evoke a cultural memory of the past. But while the ancient structures that we borrowed from were monasteries and stupas, what we were trying to do also is really work with sun-washed spaces, a layering of spaces, working on proportions, detailing, to create a far more sensorial experience befitting a resort. In a way, converting austerity to luxury. So in that sense, we feel the design transcends its cultural cues. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Vaishali. I think all the presenters have made one thing clear. There's innovation, but by going back to the roots. So thank you once again.